Hi, y'all. So last night, at the end of the video, I told you I was going to tell you a story about a woman named Rosemary who brought it clear to me how incredible these times are that we're in right now. It was very profound. So last year, April, I believe, April 2018. It was before Derek announced Malia's arrival in his life. So, April of 2018. I was involved in this awakening, and I had been following Derek's channel since within moments of the first video released on Christmas Day. Literally, y'all, that was like the most. I still don't. I mean, I know now what happened, but that day, I did not know how it came about that I ended up with that on my TV. Because I came in from Christmas gathering completely overwhelmed with the stuff of this world and my family's stuff. And, holidays have always been horrible, stressful for me. And I came in the door, turned on the TV to find something to make me laugh. Now, I don't have cable TV, you guys. I have Wi-Fi. I use a Roku. I control the energy that comes off of that box, that screen in my living room. So I had a very definite idea of what I was going to be accessing to initiate laughter so I could shake it off. So I turned on the TV, and what I was expecting was the Roku screen. But what had come up that day, Christmas Day 2017, YouTube opens up and Anonymous Global's very first video was playing. Many of you may not have seen that video. Powerful, controversial, true on every level. And I knew it immediately. So I was already in it. And by April, I had already been reborn. My new birthday was February 10th. That unmasking video, within minutes, I was on the floor shaking and sobbing and like, yes, it's time. Yes, bring it. It's time. Wake us up. Let's do this. I was just freaking out. And then I didn't even remember half of that. So by April, I knew something was up. And I knew that I didn't understand it. And I knew I wanted more. And I knew it was going to take me a long time to figure this out. I knew those things. And then I went to the store. It's a small town. I live in a very small town. Lots of bridges here because it's a series of land masses surrounded by water and connected by bridges. So we got, 8, 10 bridges in this small town. I mean, you can go from one end as you enter what they consider town, all the way to the other end, which is like considered going out of town to the beach, 4 miles. 2 whole towns, 4 miles, right? So it's not a large town. So I went over, crossed one of the bridges to one of our local grocery stores. And I was at the deli counter waiting for my order. I was just kind of leaning against the deli counter, just kind of scanning the store, scoping out what was going on. I'm more of an observer than a participant in some situations. And I usually try and kind of notice what's going on around me and who's about. So I'm leaning against this counter, kind of observing and looking around the store, and I noticed to my left that the door had opened, and I got this very warm feeling. And I was not close. I was, 50 or more yards away. But that door opened, and I felt something very warm. Very warm. And I started paying attention to that door. And the cart comes through. And the young woman comes through. And then the elderly, tribal, elder woman comes through that door. My heart started racing. My hands started shaking. And I had no idea why. I'm looking at her, and then I broke eye contact and pretended that I'd had no response because I didn't understand what was going on. She hadn't taken 10 steps inside that store, and she looked up into my face, made direct eye contact. I had never seen an expression of joyful, loving acknowledgement cross somebody's face when looking at me so fast in my lifetime. Never had I seen such a thing. Her face lit up. Her eyes started to sparkle. This grin came across her face that had no beginning and it had no end. And her hands were shaking, and her little feet are shuffling faster as she's getting closer to me, and she's pointing at me. Oh, you're here! You're here! I know you! I remember you, she says. She says, I am Rosemary, and put her entire moniker before me as she stuck out her hand, and she says to me, I remember you. I know you. Your love. Don't forget me, she says. The time is near, she says. Don't forget me, please, please, don't forget me. And she's grabbing my hand, and she's squeezing. And I'm stroking her hand, and I'm like, I love you too, darling. I know you too. You will not be forgotten. You are never forgotten. I always know you. I always know you. And she squeezed so hard, and she smiles and tears are running down her face. She's like, I know you. Your love. Don't forget me, okay? Don't forget me. And she turns to walk away. And I'm dumbfounded. Just dumbfounded. I don't know where those words came from out of my mouth. And I don't know where the next ones came from either. Well, I do now, but I didn't then. She turns to walk away, and the young woman who was with her was a care aide. She did not know. She didn't know what to think. She was embarrassed and uncomfortable, and she was trying to make apologies. And she says, I'm sorry. I'm so embarrassed. She doesn't know what she's doing. She can't help it. And I looked at her and I said, don't ever say that. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's saying. And she doesn't need to help it. And she looked at me quite startled. And she says, do you know her? And I said, of course I do. Didn't you hear her tell you who I am? I love her. And she just startled and dumbfounded, and Rosemary looks at her and she grabs her arm and she says, you'll understand. I'll explain it to you. Come on. She grabs her arm and she starts pulling her through the store. She turns and looks over her shoulder at me and she's like, don't you forget me now, love. I remember you. What do you think when something like that happens, you know? When you're new in this awakening, and you think you know things that you know, but you know you don't know them because you've just learned. I don't know anything. All these horrible experiences that I perceived throughout my life with my perception tree fruit, that I perceived I'd had all these horrible experiences that I'd been subjected to and I had to survive and live through, and oh my God, and woe is me. And I was there for a long time. Well, until I became a grown-up, right? And you're realizing that there's something about all of these things that is important. It's given you some kind of an insight or some kind of a skill set that seems to bring something positive into the world, but you're just not quite sure yet. And you've got your confidence pumped up a little bit because it's okay to love people unconditionally now. But you're still just not sure, right? And then this experience happens. What do you think? What do you do? I'll tell you what I thought. I thought I had just received the greatest gift in the entire existence of humanity. That's what I thought. And I had no idea why. I didn't know what any of it meant. But that's what I thought. And as I started thinking about it later and putting some time into it, I realized Yes, I do know Rosemary. And yes, Rosemary does know me. And a little bit later on, I'm not sure how long, a little bit later, not too long, my wonderful and beloved Naughty Beaver, I waited so long for him, so long for him. And he has brought me such joy. Not long after that, he put out a video, and I do not remember which one it was, because I was in that video until that very moment when he put Rosemary's picture on the screen of one of his videos. And from that point forward, I remember nothing of that video except for that picture. There was a lot of things in that picture, and I don't remember what they all were, but there was boxes. There's multiple things, and in the very bottom corner on the right-hand side was a photograph of a very elderly, tribal elder woman smiling. And it was Rosemary. And I knew it was Rosemary. And I knew that I had loved Rosemary many times and for a very long time. I remember you, Rosemary. I love you, Rosemary. You are not forgotten, Rosemary. I've only told this story one other time, and that no longer exists. Some of you might not know that back then, April, May last year, we had a different family communication system. It was our first faith book, so to speak, of Global Witness. And we don't have that anymore. That all kind of fell away, and we had to restart when things became clear and authentic and genuine. So that system disappeared. And a lot of my writing, a lot of my stories, and a lot of my love disappeared with it. But not Rosemary. She's still right here. In that moment, in that first moment, I realized I am a part, a very small, very, very small, but equally important part of something incredible, life-altering, perspective-killing, world-changing experiences and phenomenons. And that was almost a year ago. And it's way more and way different and way better now, right? But I needed to talk about Rosemary today. We met again. We love still. And we will see each other in the future. I know it. How many people have you previously known? Right? This time last year, I wouldn't have said those words. Wouldn't have even thought it to be a thing because I had been raised not to. So Rosemary taught me incredible things in those very few moments of time. And then Naughty confirmed it. I love how our Father works. And our Mother's blessings are never ending. I love you all. I hope you find your own Rosemaries, because they're out there. Shine your light, change the world. Let's make a difference. No sibling left behind. Not this time. I love you all very much. Have a great day.